Hello, and welcome back to our virtual con day 2 of GhostyCon, aka Geek Out at Staten Island. I am going to be both the semi-host as well as the interviewee for today's wonderful panel. We have some amazing panelists from Black Fae. I'm trying my best not to fangirl on my own. I gotta be professional, guys. Bear with me if I squeal in between, okay? But thank you guys so much again for participating in our virtual panel on our YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook page. So without further ado, I will be bringing each panelist up and then they will explain who they are, what they do, and all the magic that they come with. So starting off first is Jasmine LeFleur. Hello. Next up, we have Lord Stripe. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Next up, we will have Sabrina of Fair Best Life. Sorry, I said fair fairy. How could I forget a fairy when I see a fairy? So sorry. Next up, we have Phoenix.
Hi.
And lastly, we have the amazing Carrie Hime, aka Coco Hime.
Hi.
Hello. So, would you guys like to tell who you are? I know who some of you are, but I don't think they know who you are.
Okay, I guess I'll start. I'm Jasmine LaFleur, aka Empress Halcyon Crow. That's my fairy name. And I'm the creator of Black Fae Day, the hashtag movement. Yeah. And I've been building a community around the movement for about a year now. And I hope that you got to learn something about that at the panel yesterday and got to frolic in the park. But yes, I'm Jasmine, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much. Let's introduce ourselves to Lord Stripe.
Hello. I am Carlos, aka Lord Strife. I am the handler to Empress Halcyon Crow. And I am also the co-founder of Black Fae. And I basically kind of help a lot with getting the things that Jasmine needs pushed out. A lot of times, you'll find me amongst the people in the community, talking and helping to maintain a positive and safe community. I'm the protector of the shade, and I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. Sabrina.
Yes. Hi, lovelies. I'm Sabrina of Fairy Best Life, and I am part of Black Fae Day's council. I'm the chancellor, if you will, just making sure that we've got, order of operations on lock and various organizing within our organization. But I also make music. I love making fantastical spiritual music. It takes sort of a enchanted R&B approach. And I've got all that fun stuff on my Instagram, Fairy Best Life. Super excited to be here.
Yes, thank you. Phoenix.
Hi. I am Phoenix Lux. I am the Grand Griot of the Council for Black Fae Day. I am our storyteller, the keeper of the shade. I help craft some of the lore and do some of the things with our guild that is soon to launch. I am also a content creator, cosplayer, just a creative, multi-hyphenate doctoral student that just loves play therapy. I love fantasy. I am happy to be here with you all, and you can find me at Phoenix Lux on TikTok and Blurdy Love on Instagram.
Thank you. And last but not least, Hime.
Hi. So most people may know me as Hime. I added in Kyrie because that is my Kyrie Water Fae, my mental health fairy. You can find me at most places at Coco Hime Amore. I'm a Black Fae Day ambassador. Have been into Black Fae Day from the gate. Like as soon as people introduced me to it, like it just made a huge impact on my life. So here I am to represent the melanated magic that the world absolutely needs right now.
I like what you said, that melanated magic. can we bottle that? Like,
Please.
can we
Yep.
bottle that and like remind people, like, do you see this? This is melanated magic right here.
Mm-hmm.
That has to be a hashtag. If it's not one now, it's going to be. I love it so much. So let's get ourselves started with this amazing panel. And again, I want to say thank you to Black Fae Day. I want to say thank you to Jasmine for just being here, having this panel, okaying the things that we did yesterday, because we had an official meetup yesterday. So we got to be extra magical. We were in a giant meadow, some gardens. So just first and foremost, just want to say thank you. So enough there. See, I told you guys, this is the start of me fangirling. And if I don't stop myself, we won't have a real panel. So let's start off with the first question, which is, what is Black Fae Day? What is that?
Oh, great question. So Black Fae Day is a holiday, but it's also the name of our brand and business. But first of all, Black Fae Day is the hashtag movement. Hashtag Black Fae Day is a celebration of Black and melanated people celebrating their own magic, and we're trying to increase visibility of positive fantasy representation within our community to let people know that we like this and we're here and we're magical. We've been here and imagining ourselves as dragons and knights and princesses since we were little kids. So I wanted to highlight that and give us a day of celebration so that we could see each other and know that, we're all here and we deserve representation.
Wow. I had to calm down. That was so eloquently said. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I'm actually going to add probably a follow-up question to that, because there's actually a question that was asked yesterday at yesterday's panel. So each one of the panelists answered like what Black Fae Day meant to them. So I would love to hear from the other panelists, like what. So now that Jasmine has gave us the true definition, right? It's in the Webster somewhere, right? I want to hear what you guys think. What is Black Fae Day mean to you guys? Each one of the panelists.
I can go next. Well, for me, Black Fae Day represents the dream of my partner and her vision. So that's something that's very important and special and personal to me. But it's also something that's very ambitious and very necessary in our community. And it represents something that's needed. And I've been pushing myself to be supportive of Jasmine, of the movement, of the community. And again, that's why I'm protective of it, is because it's so important to what we need as Black people and as people of color. It's to see that representation and be told it's okay to do these things that everybody who's in a part of it has said that they've wanted to do it or had the urge to do it, but just didn't feel like they belonged. So it's that sense of belonging is what it represents.
I was just going to chime in on that. Like it's a space that's created, that's safe, that's allowed for all beautiful shades to come into the shade and bring their most authentic, magical, fabulous selves and know that they're home and know that there's like a whole community of people that like is celebrating them, that is celebrating with them, that is down to frolic, that's down to be playful and like connect with that inner child that we so desperately need to like find our way back to as a society. I feel like just that sense of love and community and play and creativity, which we can't have enough room for a space like that. So I'm really excited that Black Fae Day has the momentum that it has, and we're just growing bigger and bigger.
To me, Black Fae Day is liberation. I am a student of Bell Hooks, so a lot of the things I do is steeped in community and freedom beyond the everyday. As people, we have a lot of things that are often taxing. There's stress, there's trauma, but Black Fae Day allows us freedom beyond that. Like your existence is beyond work. It is beyond just doing the everyday grind. It's freedom, it's joy, it's laughter, it's building core memories and meeting new people. So when I think of Black Fae Day, I often think of liberation.
Okay, so I really like the liberation. So I'll add on and say that Black Fae Day was the start of something new for me. And yes, I do mean that as a High School Musical pun because I grew up with that. But it was a start of something new for me because I had already wanted to create Kyrie. But when Black Fae Day, like Black Fae Day came along and gave me the okay to be me and to find other people that were like me because I felt so alone and like, I found my family. Like that is literally all of my friends that went to the Black Fae Day Gala this year. They said that it was a family reunion. And I can't like I feel this same exact way. It was literally a family reunion with people I have needed my whole life. So having that community has made for such like I said it, that place and that time was a core memory for me because it's going to affect how I live my life from now on because I actually work with kids. So I see the joy in the small things. I see how much they love just simple and how much like for Black Fae Day, I've worn like some of my blue makeup to work before and the kids are almost like, you look so pretty. I love it. So I can't imagine what it would be like. Like my goal for this year is to go to work as Kyrie, and so my kids can see it because I know that they will love it because they're not used to seeing black or melanated as fairy fantasy. So yeah, it means so much than just the words that it is. Black Fae Day is a movement. It is something that was needed in our communities, and it is, inspiration for all of the babies and all of our inner child because we all were a baby at one point.
Wow, 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 wow. Like that's what went on in my brain internally and came out externally. You guys all spoke really, really well about what it means, and I think it kind of echoed some of the stuff that was in the panel yesterday from both ourselves and some of the attendees as well, because it's more than just a day, right? It's an experience, it's a lifestyle to an extent, it is a community that thankfully has been brought together in so many different ways. So let me stop before I go on a tangent. Let me ask the next question. So next question is, and it kind of ties in, it was answered a little bit. So how did Black Fae Day start? So I know, Jasmine, you talked a little bit about why you started it, the purpose of starting it, but like, how did it really start? Was it like, okay, I have this idea and it's like pff, explosion to like what it is today? Or like, how did that process go?
Yeah, it was a little magic and a little preparation. um, it did kind of explode online. I had posted on Twitter, which I don't even think I really posted much since. But back in March 2021, I posted about seeing, the after effects of 28 Days of Black cosplay and how beautiful it was to see representation in, pop culture and comics and anime, things like that. And it just made my heart swell. And then when February is over, I was like, oh no, back to the mundane, the regular life. And during that time, Brandy's version of Cinderella, Roger and Hammerstein's version, was getting ready to be put out for streaming, which I do have my fairy godmother here today, Whitney Houston homage. Yeah, but I was like, I love this, and I thought, I haven't seen a Black princess since Brandy. I know that's our princess culturally. She's always going to be our princess. But like, I hadn't seen any other representations that were that iconic, that special, and that widely accessible to just the general public. And it kind of made me sad. So I kind of vented about it in a number of tweets. and said, on May 8th, let's do this. Let's use a hashtag. Let's all come out here as magical and melanated as we can and show people that there is positive representation of us in media and we deserve it, especially in fantasy as well. So I tweeted about it, and next thing you know, I'm on Facebook, a whole different platform, and I see screenshots of the tweet being shared, and I'm like, that's odd. I didn't post that, And I, at this point, have like virtually no social media presence, so it was a surprise to me. And then more people started talking about it, and then Carlos was like, "Let's make a, a group and keep sharing about it." And so that's kind of how it took off. We made 2 Facebook groups online. One is a safe space, so for people who identify as Black, to just commune and share fantasy and looks and things like that. And then we have a public space for people who just want to celebrate and support with us. And it could be anybody, you don't have to just be Black. So we have the public space too. And it just grew and grew and grew. And then the date happened, and so many people used the hashtag. It just spread like wildfire, and it just shook up algorithms to be positive and Black and full of melanated magic. So it was very special. A little magic, a little preparation.
Nice. Wow. So, I'm going to ask the rest of the crew here, because obviously you put it together, you post it on Twitter, you press post and click, and you're like, whoa, right? However, we all came together, right? We all were affected by the Twitter post. I remember the day of the Twitter post, and I was like, what's that? Ooh, like I feel like we all had a what's that ooh moment, in a way. So I would like to ask the panelists, what was what started it up for you? Like, was it this Twitter post? Was it somebody said something to you? Like what started that up for you?
Well, I can start. Like it was so funny. I had just about realized that I was like hiding from my inner fae. Because I realized like my whole room around me was covered in like various like fairy jars I made and like butterflies and vines. And I was like, oh my God, look at this little enchanted garden I made myself. Oh, I'm a fairy. That's why I did that like this whole time. And so I just dove into the interwebs, and like I was looking for, people in fantasy that looks like me, just to help with the mood board, the vision board. Now that I identified and wanted to, embrace this part of myself, and I stumbled across this account, Brown Sugar Fairies, and they had posted that Black Fae Day was a thing, and it was going to be happening, and in May, and I was like, oh my gosh, just in time, like. I've ascended into this like fantasy realm, and there's literally a holiday made just for me and others like me, where I'll get to see just all the melanated magic. We're just gonna be coining that throughout this whole thing. But yeah, I found my wings that were created by this beautiful fairy, Tatiana of Creatures Who Craft. I got them in February, and then like literally just in time for finding out about this Black Fae Day, and I was like, it's meant to be. And then just being a part of that virtual holiday, like there was such a closeness felt, even though the pictures were coming from everywhere. Like we were all really a part of something, and like like Jasmine was saying, it was flooding timelines and news feeds, and the impact was crazy. I mean, like well beyond the day itself, like we were still seeing it everywhere, and it was just super inspiring.
I know for me, I almost didn't do it because I was in a doc program, but much like everything like in my life, and then I have this, I call it like the pre-midlife crisis as someone who's in their 30s, where you feel like there's a picture in your mind of an adult and what an adult is supposed to be and how an adult is supposed to act. And so I was like, oh, I should focus on my doc program. Maybe I'll do it next year. And I was like, no, I'm gonna do it. So I pulled my partner in. my husband. And so I took pictures, and then it was kind of like a thing clicked. Like after I did it and after I took the pictures, it was like, this is my thing. Like I found my thing. Like, you know, I kind of started feeling less uncomfortable in the phase of life that I was in, because I was finding something that I could have purpose in and be passionate about. Like I didn't have to choose which one to do. Like, oh, I can help people and I can dress up and I can have fun. So it was one of those things, like it just kind of clicked almost like organically. Like the universe was like, no, do it this time. So that's how it worked out for me.
Wow. I love how you mentioned that it kind of clicked into place, because that definitely is my story. So I've always kind of felt lost going through life. And like, I went to college as a speech pathologist, just trying to, like, get a job. And in between me, like, trying to get into master's program, I started working with kids. And when I started working with the babies, it just, like, I remembered how simple and happy they are. So they have this place that's called Dramatic Play, where the kids, like, it's basically a kitchen. And unfortunately, with COVID, we're not allowed as much anymore. But before, they were able to dress up in costumes. And one of the most favorite costumes the kids loved was the ones that had the wings. They always would put on the wings. And I would just be like, oh my God, I love you. And I would take the pictures of the kids, so they would always be posting and everything. But going from there, I found out about Black Fae Day from a friend, because I had already been exuding. Everybody knows that I love fairies and fae, and just like that magic. So when my friend told me on Facebook, because I didn't even know about the Twitter or the tweet, like I didn't know about that until later on. But on Facebook, my friend told me, hey, there's this holiday that I really think that you should be doing. And I was like, okay, what is that? And they were like, Black Fae Day. And I was like, wait a minute. Black Fae Day? What is that? I've never heard of that. That sounds exactly like me. I'm Black, I love fairies, and there's a day? Tell me more. So from there, when the first holiday came, a lot of things fell through for me. I wanted to get like a big photo shoot together and everything, but I ended up doing the photo shoot myself. And one of the main quotes that I will always remember for the rest of my life is my mom said to me that day, she was like, this is the hardest I've ever seen you work on anything. And you need to know that I wasn't getting any money from this. There was nothing, like no guarantee from anything of me taking these pictures, but it made me feel so good just to be able to participate. I put so much work into it. So from there, of course, like life exploded, because then I was able to be like, you know what? Since I love fairies, maybe I'll make a fairy that's specifically for me. So I love the color blue and I love the ocean because I grew up near a beach. So I was like, I'm gonna make a fairy around that. Hence Kyrie Water Fae. So like all of that came from this one tweet that I didn't even know about. It was just a Facebook friend saying, hey, I think this would be really cool for you, so you should do it. And I was like, okay. And from there, it's just been like, all right, yep, I'm here for the ride forever.
Nice. Actually, I think resonated with some of the people watching this. I'm actually going to put the comment up real quick. They said, yes, LOL, someone sent me a post about it, and I was so excited. Like, there's a holiday, life is complete.
Yep.
And there's one more person that said it was what we needed. So
exactly.
I agree. I'm actually going to switch my glasses because there's just so much glare. So I'm going to switch it to these ones instead. They dangle.
I love it.
Thank you. There's a little bit of glare, and I look like one of those anime characters with like a sheen, like on the eyes. See, there you go. Now you can actually see part of my eyeballs. But just a quick for myself too. Like I found out about Black Fae Day through my best friend who had posted your tweet. I had no clue about it. I had actually did a fantasy photo shoot like a couple of months prior, like in March, like literally a week before everything shut down for the COVID and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I want to be fancy. And I was like, I'm gonna be an alicorn. I had like a horn and like wings and everything, and it was amazing. I was like, yes. So then I found out about the day. I was like, ooh, I'm gonna do that. Wasn't able to do it because I had too much of a big idea and put nothing together. But this year, me and my friends were able to do it. We actually went somewhere in Jersey. I think it's called the Floral Escape, and they have individual rooms. People in New York, New Jersey, just letting you know, there's a place called Floral Escape in New York and New
I'm in
Jersey,
New
and there's
Jersey.
individual rooms where you can go, like to take photos. So let's say you have allergies or something, and like with nature, you know, people have stuff has that. Just wanted to pop that in there. This is not sponsored. If they want to sponsor us, that'd be great. Um, but you can go into each. They're like different colored rooms. There's like all colors of the rainbow. Then they have like a rainbow room of flowers that you can take pictures in. So there's just tossing that out there for anyone who's in the New York, New Jersey area.
That would be me.
That'd be
We
you.
need
All
to
right.
go there.
Yeah, we'll meet up. So let's move on to the next question, which is, what is the fantasy genre? I get asked that a lot because I'm like, oh, you know, fae fantasy, but people are like, well, what is that? What is fantasy, or what would you describe it as? Who would like to
I'll
go?
let Naya, our folklorist, answer.
So fantasy is escapism. It's otherworldly, and it allows you to transcend the mundane, the everyday. It's where you find your unicorns and your fairies and your merfolk and your elves, and it's a place where you can fully immerse in another world that is beyond the things that we can do normally. So that's why I love Black Fae Day, because kind of like Kyrie said, when we had it in person, it was kind of like, this is real. Like, we can really live in a fantasy in real life. Like, we had knights and mermaids teaching people how to swim, and we had fairies everywhere. So it really is that pure escapism and allowing yourself to dream and believe and be beyond what people have prescribed to us.
I knew you were going to nail it.
Oh, wow. Ah, that took my breath away a little bit. You guys are so good at what you do and like how you speak. I don't know if anybody wants to add on. If not, we can move to the next question.
I'm just gonna. Oh, go ahead, Jasmine.
You go ahead.
I just love that, like, the piece about like bringing the fantasy to our reality, because that's like my whole MO. It's like, this world is magical. Like, we exist in a fae realm, so long as we open ourselves up to it. Like, taking a moment to like smell flowers. They all have different smells. I'm reading a book that actually talks about the fact that plants speak. You know, we just can't hear them. Like, they don't speak our language, and that doesn't mean that they don't talk or have like, you know, a consciousness. And I just think that's so fascinating. And like, by being able to like create these magical spaces in the here and now, where you can see mermaids literally like swimming in pools and fairies frolicking, it just helps alter that perspective that like there's a here and then there's this other unattainable realm. Like, we can bring the realm here. Like, this world is full of magic, and we are magical beings if we, you know, allow ourselves to be so and embrace the magic around us and within us, because it's all one. It's all connected. I'm going into my like woo-woo place, but it's true. It's like, it's a beautiful, magical world if we allow it to be.
Absolutely. I was just excited because I saw we had a Cyclops in the chat, and I definitely encourage you to, yes, be your best one-eyed self this Black Fae Day coming up.
Before we move on, I forgot, we had a fawn that was also a masseuse. Like, only Black Fae Day can give you that type of magic, where he had the actual hooves. Like, it was amazing just to see people unleash their creativity, and just also just the fantasy just defies age, ability. Like we were just able to be our best selves. So yeah, I can't wait to see a Cyclops too.
Yeah, no, excited about that. So sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's possible. I just wanted to add on just one little quick thing. So like actually from Black Fae Day, that's where I got these ear cuffs I have. One of the vendors had these that they were selling, and I just like walked in. It was like the first part of the day, the sea experience. I walked in, walked past the table, took a video, and was like, yeah, I'm gonna buy those from you, thank you. Like I am not used to being able to see that much melanated magic merchandise because before it was a lot just trying to find brown elf ears because that's not something that a lot of people have, so they were overcharging for like $30 an ear. It was craziness. So being able to find stuff that was at the Black Fae Day, yeah, brought the fantasy back together because we had fairy artisans. Fantastic.
I want those cuffs.
Shop Forest on IG. They are fantastic. She has many, and I believe they're only like 35. Yeah, like it's. I have 2 pairs. They're fantastic. I love just throwing them on. I actually had them on when I was in the pool too, and they didn't fall off until I went did too much. But they were adorable. Yes, they're still there.
No, that's good to know. For the swimmers, you have like a limited boundary gets to that. This question kind of is like a follow-up to the initial one, which was like, what are important elements that make the fantasy genre? And just for the audience, we touched a little bit about this yesterday's panel, and some people had mentioned things like, well, I mentioned glitter because I think of glitter a lot when I think of like fantasy, like just because it's sparkle. I think of wings or different things like that. I know Hima, you mentioned like how your students like love the wings, and like that makes them think about like the fantasy genre. So like for you, when you guys think of the fantasy genre, like what are some key elements that come to mind?
Ooh, Carlos, you should answer. You got all your key elements today.
Well, for me, I was thinking too. For me, a big part of the fantasy genre is whimsy, that escapism, that sense of grandeur and scale that it gives you. That those things that you read or that you see or that you participate in that give you that sensation of like literally taking your breath away. It's like, sweeping views of big magical canyons and all of these magical creatures that you've never seen before. This sense of belonging to a place that's full of magic, and like that, and that experience is going to be wholly yours, because it's going to be based on your experience and your perspective and the things that you've been through. So that's why fantasy is important to a lot of us in our community. It presents that sense of escapism and whimsy.
Yeah, I also, fantasy coming so often from like stories and lore and ritual. I feel like there's such a auteur aspect to fantasy that if people allow themselves, like you can write your own legend, like you can embrace and accentuate the parts of yourself that you want to like give more love to or celebrate. Like we've got our beautiful Phoenix Lux here with like this gorgeous like blue fro with butterflies in it. Like, like fantasy is what you make of it. And it's truly an embracing and celebrating of truly whatever it is that like calls to you. I personally am a huge nature fairy, so like I love incorporating anything of nature because again, I think it's so magical as it is. So like florals or butterflies or trees. Like there's a whole one of our ambassadors like created this whole tree dryad like species that was like all their own, and it was incredible. And like they were this like bark-like trunk creature with like a hair of leaves, and it was just epic. It's like fantasy is what you make it, and I tend to lean in the glitter as well, though. I do enjoy some sparkles.
Yeah, I definitely feel like what makes an important element for me in fantasy. I kind of have similar background as Hime. I'm Kyrie, the water fae, in a sense where like we both studied speech pathology in college. We both work in the classroom with little kids, and just seeing their sense of wonder and amazement at every little thing. You know, I could take them on a nature walk and they see something moving in the grass and they're like already like, oh, it's a dinosaur, and they're roaring and they're doing all these crazy things. And I'm like, no, it's just a caterpillar. And I have to stop and say, oh, wait, why did I correct this kid? Like, this is a dinosaur right now. We're going to live in this moment. And so that important element of embracing the inner child, really looking inside yourself and seeing again what excites you, what makes your imagination just explode and go wild. And also just having that sense of identity in yourself. Like Sabrina, I'm a very fairy that loves nature. So my persona is very tied to nature. But like someone like Naya's like, I'm house Nuck If You Buckingham Palace, where we're royal and we're ratchet. Like, embrace every bit of yourself and like set it on fire, amplify it times 1,000. That's what's gonna let you find your fantasy, what your exploration of fantasy is. And because we're Black people and we have a unique culture of our own, we can include that too. It's really exciting to be able to see your experience, your lived experience in a fantasy lens. So I always encourage people to really look inside yourself, embrace your inner child, and just amplify it.
Yes, Royally Ratchet. I wanted to show you guys, like, these are my grills. I just couldn't get them in on time. Like, I have full intent to accept my doctoral degree with slugs in my mouth because it's a cultural thing. So I feel like what makes fantasy a genre too is that communal belief. Like, we all believe in Black Fae Day. So it manifests physically into an event where you see these physical beings in real time. So just also figuring out who am I and what do I want to say and who's going to help me say it so that we can build this thing in real life. So I really think that that communal belief and that community that Jasmine and Carlos have done a wonderful job in like building and curating and protecting is what makes fantasy because we can craft all of these stories and holidays and days together and they have more power because we believe them together. One person says they believe in fairies. It's like, okay, but it's like hundreds of thousands of us. It's like, yeah, fairies are a thing. So I think community is important when we're talking about fantasy as well. And we've seen that in other capacities like D&D and things like that, but just not the way we do it.
Oh, okay. So important elements. I guess I would feel the community and the unlimited resources. So like there's unlimited things for me to find joy in if I view it from my fairy lens. And that would be like touching on what Sabrina said of like nature, just going outside and smelling the flowers. Like I love summer and like my whole thing is beach. So I actually went to the beach the other day with my mom. And as soon as we got out the car, I smelled the salt of the water and I was like, oh my God. Like I literally thanked her for bringing me because I had been home in my own world, in my own head. So fantasy brings us that unlimited joy, and like there's more things that I can always find and do and learn and having that community that's around me also makes it unlimited because there's unlimited people who love it. So learning all of their stories, like every person that's on this panel has a different story than me from how we got here. So just learning those different things just makes it even more of a like bringing it back together. And then of course for me, magic. I love magic. You see my little magic stars back here. Like I love the light up and glitter and glitz of being able to stand out. Like I want to stand out, and I wear blue to do that for me.
Nice, thank you. You guys made some really good points. I didn't even think about like outside of like the visuals. Like you made a really good point just now here about like scent. Like that is like an element. Like sight isn't just an element in fantasy. Like scent, sound, right? I think a lot of people could test this and say like, you know, water, hearing wind through trees, a flute, you know, different things like that are typically attributed to fantasy. But I didn't come to my mind because I was like, oh yeah, like sparkles and dragons and wings and this, but like fantasy touches you in all five senses and even like your sixth sense, right? So
Yeah.
that's just really amazing. And I do want to bring up some comments because we have some other people also answering some of these questions as well. So someone wrote, it reminds me of the curiosity and imaginative minds we had as kids, which Jasmine, you touched upon a little bit, and I agree. I'm a huge dinosaur fan. I even said that I'm gonna find a way to make myself a dinosaur one day. Don't know how, but I'm gonna do it. And then, you know, I think that was really cool. And there was someone said something else. Oh, yes. This actually is going to touch upon one of our next questions. Let me, here we go. Storytelling, rewriting narratives to give marginalized characters voices, which actually ties in to our next question, which is what does it mean to be a Black person in the fantasy genre? Like, what does that mean? Like, and kind of tying in, we could talk about representation. We could talk about just characters that you like, maybe even like whatever way you guys want to take this question.
For me, I don't know if people have seen the Black Fae Day official logo, but it is a Sankofa bird. It's a hybrid between a phoenix and a Sankofa bird. And the Sankofa comes from the Ghanaian people and represents a sense of going back and reclaiming the things that you may have forgot, and knowing that it's not taboo to go back and say, hey, you know, I dropped this behind and now I'm picking it back up. And no matter how heavy or light that object might be that you're reclaiming, it's important. And so being a Black person in the fantasy genre, it feels like that for me because of me being a Black person in the African diaspora. There's lots of oral histories that were lost for us. There's lots of cultural elements that we are recreating as a new generation of Black people that exist on this beautiful globe. So reclaiming some of the whimsy and the fantasy and the stories and the dress and making it up as we go is really important to me. And so Black fantasy right now feels like you're a pioneer, and it's really exciting to just imagine anything that you want and you say, no, this is Black fantasy because I'm doing it now and I'm creating, you know, what I see myself as, what I want myself to be, and what I want my community to experience. So that's what it is for me. I don't know what it is for y'all, but that's what's continually my work as, you know, an ambassador of Black Fae Day and a person that wants to get this to every Black person in every culture. I want every culture to embrace who they are and really love on themselves, because that's what Black Fae Day has been. It's been a celebration of our culture and a lot of love shared. And it has caught on to other groups to say, hey, we got folklore, we have things and stories that we want to tell too. And they have, and it's been beautiful. So yes, that's what I want for people exploring fantasy. To know who you are, embrace who you are. Don't forget about the old stuff either. It's important. And just bringing it to the forefront now, just as you are.
I wanted to say it's about also just reconstructing our perception as Black people, and just that having our own voice and telling our own stories organically from how we understand our culture, as people who participate in it. I think one of my favorite things, I'm a huge, like, Harriet Tubman has been one of my hugest inspirations, but a lot of people don't know a lot of things. Like, I always say that she is a fairy. She was a fairy because she cured dysentery, because she knew so much about the local flora and about the local plants that she was able to cure dysentery. She was able to, she had dreams that guided her throughout her mission. She had these magical elements that, because we didn't tell them, we don't hear them that way. Like that's belief, and that's magic, and that's perseverance. And it kind of allows us to speak, truth to power. Like, no, hey, this is our fantasy, and this is how we see ourselves. So to be a Black person in fantasy allows us to see ourselves beyond historical inaccuracies or oppression. We tell our story, and we tell it in the way that's true to us.
Oof. I think left everybody speechless just now. Left everybody speechless just now. Oh man.
Oh, my bad. Okay.
Yeah.
So for me, what does it mean to be a Black person in fantasy? I think I said it already, which is like I stand out. Like Jasmine said, we pioneer. Yeah, I stand out already because I'm that weird Black girl who has always been into magic. So now that we have this place that we're pioneering, I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna take all of that and I'm still gonna really stand out because Kyrie Waterfay came from my want to like remind people of the small joys in life. Because for me, as my own self, I have depression and anxiety. So going through life with that, having to deal with that, it's like Kyrie Waterfay is my pick me up. So my Kyrie Waterfay motto is, if you're feeling blue, here's what you can do. Remember your worth. You've had it since birth. Now, I created that because I love alliteration. I love rhyming, poetry, all those things. I grew up doing that. And I feel like that's probably my way that I spoke to the world before I started talking, because I was actually hecka shy. Like I did not talk to almost anybody. My mom put me in dance to get me to be talkative. So I found myself in fantasy through all the stories that I read growing up, because I didn't talk, but I definitely was online just finding everything and anything that had to do with like, fantasy. And most of the time there wasn't anybody that had melanin. So it was like, what? So Jasmine brought it up, the Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella, Brandy, as Cinderella put forth that image that, oh my God, there's somebody that is like me, that is in fantasy, that looks really pretty like this. Oh man, I can do that too. Okay, I can do it. Yeah, that's where life became we needed more fantasy and we needed more melanated magic. So I saw somebody's Facebook comment that just said, imagine the little kids who see the abundance. And I have. Like I've said, I've gone to work with some of my Kyrie makeup on before, and the kids, they're just like, oh my God, your ears are pretty. Oh my God, your makeup is pretty. Like they get so excited, and I haven't even gone in like my full attire. So I can't even imagine what their places are going to be like. And I was thinking like maybe I should bring like, Black Fae Day to my job so that the kids can start to like have something to look forward to as well, because there's not many things that are for our Black kids. So having that, yeah.
Wow. I I keep saying wow, not just to be a broken record, but just wow. Because you guys just touch on a lot of things I think we all think but don't always verbalize. And I think having this platform and hearing all you guys speak, at least for me, I'm assuming the audience feel the same way I do. Um, especially based off of the comments that like a lot of things you are saying are resonating with them. And actually what you said, he actually said, you guys are really good at the segueing thing. Mind you guys, we didn't prep. So that segues into this conversation. Like, what does representation mean to you? Which I know we touched a little bit on. If anyone has anything they want to add to it or speak about.
I'll can I start with that one? I'll just say representation means everything, and I mean everything, because working in a classroom, I see how the books, something as simple as the books that the kids read. I read to my kids Monday through Friday, so the books that we put and show to them, not many of them have brown and black children. So me and my coworker, so we make sure that we bring it into the classroom, like, Gracie's Corner, like those type of things. Bringing that representation means everything. Because growing up, I wished I could have saw somebody that looked like me growing up like this, because I would have been so happy, just joyful. And I'm glad I'm able to do it now, but I'm also glad that I'm able to share that joy and brighten up like other people's day, because now it is possible. It's possible to have that representation.
Yes. To me, representation is a bridge. A lot of people are fearful of what they don't know or haven't experienced or understand. And it creates huge gaps and distances between people within the same community, people outside of the community. And so, what representation does is it normalizes it, and it gets people used to seeing newness and not being afraid of it, or things that might question them. They can approach it in a way that isn't harmful or isn't scary. And so I feel like the more representation we have of multiple cultures, the more it's going to bring us all together. Because there's a lot of people that talk about kumbaya, but then they'll say they're colorblind, and that makes no sense to me. I think you have to accept all of who someone is in order to properly represent them. So that's what it is. It's going to bridge gaps. And yes, people also say, oh, well, why does it have to be Black Jazz? Or why can't it be everybody? Well, it can't be that way because I'm trying to create that bridge. I'm trying to normalize us being together. And so until I get to be in a space with my people where we feel whole and we feel strong and we feel connected, then we could do the work of crossing over and making friends with everybody, but there's work to be done here to where our representation is positive and it's impactful and it's normalizing across different communities. So that's the thing for me, and I'll let y'all speak on it for you.
Okay, well, I'll speak on it as well. You were talking about um, bridging gaps and stuff like that. And for me, it's also about opening pathways to more forms of escapism, opening pathways to destinations for future careers or future just places to explore and places to feel safe in for those people. And someone mentioned saying, imagine the kids who see the abundance in black and brown fantasy. We saw that firsthand. We were at our park meetup in Atlanta. There were little kids running around, and I did like a brief little, I guess, interview with one of the little girls, and I asked her, I was like, "Is this your first time dressing up like a fairy?" And she was like, "No." And I was like, "Is this your first time seeing so many other people who look like you dressed up as fairies being around?" And she said, "Yes." And I asked how that made her feel, and she had like the biggest grin on her face, and she was like happy. So that's what representation means. That giving happiness to a little boy, a little girl, or anybody, adults. Like someone mentioned, like adults coming up to us, and was it Nina? saying that even adults came up and asked questions and provided their feedback of how important this is to them to now have this like escape, to have this representation and to be seen and be able to participate freely and not feel singled out and not feel isolated in their desire to do so. So representation is definitely important to one's identity. You know, imagine well, we don't have to imagine being like, but being the person or being people who grew up feeling like you couldn't do that because you're not supposed to be doing that. And our future is not going to be that way for all of these other generations coming up because of this movement.
You guys should just have a giant conference and say all the things that you have been saying. Because I would go to the conference every single year. It should be 3 days because there's too much content for an hour. Again, I'm actually honestly, everyone might think I'm joking on virtually, but I am trying to like tone down my fangirlingness because I'm just excited, I think, because again, I'm just having wonderful, beautiful Black people who are magical around, and that is just something so special for me. And having the opportunity to just speak to you guys and to be the interviewer is great. But now, removing myself from this portion, let's move on again. Told you guys it's gonna happen. So speaking of which, we talked about what it means and different things like that and how important it is, but what are some remedies, right, to increase some of that visibility? Because we had a small conversation at yesterday's panel about how when we did see ourselves, it was in a negative light. If we were in the fantasy genre, it was never positive. It was with like either stereotypical like negative fantasy characters like orcs and stuff like that, you know, or some type of evil witch or wizard or whatever have you, but it wasn't necessarily, or just some random slapstick character in the background, right? So what are the remedies, you know, to increase the visibility of Black people in fantasy genre?
I want to say do it scared. Like that little story you have in your head, that poem, that cosplay, that drawing you want to do that you can't find it, but you know you can do it. Do it scared. Representation, we are a community. Like, so we have spaces where you'll get that encouragement, but do it scared. Like, I'm writing a webtoon and I can't draw. So I had to find me somebody that can draw. Like, listen, I had a story I want to tell. So we'll learn together and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Allow yourself to be a beginner. Allow yourself the joy of experiencing and learning and doing. Like, and when you complete that work or that costume or that poem, just the exhilarating feeling of like, I really did this. And now I think I can do it again. And that's how we build. And that's that communal representation and belief that I was talking about earlier. That's how we build upon it. Is it scary? Sure, but do it scared.
Absolutely. I think every single person on this panel is doing it scared. Not to say we're scared to be here together. I'm sure if we all had any anxieties beforehand, they're gone now. We're just chatting. We're just people that love what we do and having a good conversation. But every day that I wake up and do Black Fae stuff, I'm doing it scared. But I would also say some of the things to remedy and increase visibility are reaching out to people with like-minded ideas and goals. You know, accepting this panel meant a lot to me. Hearing about yesterday meant a lot to me. Being able to frolic in the park with other people and celebrate summer and community and geekiness is like the most beautiful thing ever. So we increase visibility by showing up for each other. You have to do that. And you might have to show up scared, but be in the room, be in the moment. You have to put yourself out there. And that is definitely one of the big things. And if you are part of the Black community and you want to increase visibility of Black people in the fantasy genre, you have to start making relationships with these people that you see. It can start with sharing their content. It can start by commenting on something that you like. And it doesn't have to be centered on specifically their Blackness. If you like her hair, say I like her hair. If you like what they're doing, invite them to your space too. So just putting yourself out there as somebody who's inspired by what's going on in the fantasy genre, being someone who is enjoying it and being vocal about it and letting your actions lead you helps increase in visibility. Because if someone else sees that, oh, this person is approachable, maybe they're going to invite them to a different space or share their post or something like that. So you never know. Just be brave and do it all scared. Yes.
I would say that I love the do it scared words, because I never put a label like on what it was that I was doing. But yeah, every time I dress up as Kyrie Waterfay, I never know what my makeup is going to look like. I never know what I'm going to put on. I never know what's going to happen, but I do it. Why? Because I know it's going to make me happy, and I know that at the end of it, I'm going to have enjoyed the process, and seeing where I've come versus like where I started is just amazing. Because listen, every Kyrie Waterfay look, every single time, I never know what makeup or look I'm going for. I just look at my like bag of Kyrie stuff like, hey, today I feel like wearing this, so I'm going to do that. So increasing visibility would definitely be just trying something new, and like, find what you love. So if it is that you love to go on walks, one day on that walk, take a picture of you in the sunshine smiling. Like, if you haven't done that recently, do it. And then see yourself, because I'm not going to lie to you. Before this, I went outside in the sunshine and took a picture as Kyrie, and it just made me feel a million times better, because I was just like, oh my God, I actually do look magical. Like, I dressed it up as it, but like it really put it into like terms for me. And then when I go to post that, then that, makes it so other people are inspired to post their photos and then want to learn more about it. So just by, I guess, being yourself is the best way to bring that visibility, is like finding what makes you happy and then showing the rest of the world what that is. So Kyrie is my love of blue and the ocean, and I brought it to the world because I wanted to make sure people kept talking about mental health.
Yeah, I love that. I was gonna share this term glamour bombing that's used in like a fairy culture where like basically it's acts that inspire wonder in others is the term. So like glamoring is a term in like fantasy, and it's basically like a filter that can be used just again to alter perspective. So various acts of glamour bombing could be like creating a little fairy home or door and like just leaving it on a tree, and then someone who like stumbles upon it is like that like makes them stop and just wonder for a hot second like, does a fairy live there? And like for all they know, like yes, like that door does lead to a portal, and like there's all different ways that you can glamour bomb, but like one of the ones that I found has been really um, kind of a core aspect of my part in the effort to glamour bomb the world is to present myself as authentically as possible. I know I'm such a visual person that when I see someone out in the world living their best life, hence very best life, I'm like, I want to do that. Like I want to be able to be that beacon for people as well, just to see that it's possible and someone's out there doing it, has like glittery glasses and like a bunch of butterfly hair clips and like purple lipstick, like oh my gosh, like they're doing that, like I can do that. Like I wonder how fun their life must be that they can express themselves so authentically and freely, and like what their day must look like, getting to be that true to themselves. And so that form of presenting yourself authentically, as a glamour bomb of its own, just being able to walk past people and be that spark of wonder when they see you, or, going out in nature and like making little wreaths, and then people on their hike or jogging see you making a wreath in like, you know, a field, and you're just doing it for you, being your authentic self. That's what you want to do that day. And yet you're, you know, inspiring wonder in people, being like, I walk this trail like all the time and I never like stop and look at the flowers, you know, like just being that beacon for people. To truly live their most, you know, fulfilling life. And that doesn't need to mean, you know, having all the money in the world. It just means being able to live and experience this world through all the senses. And a lot of times, in order to do that, because of how we're conditioned, it's a lot easier if you can see it done first in some capacity. And so, yeah, to be able to be that point of wonder for people, sprinkle some glamour bombs along the way.
Yeah, being seen, being like that's the definition of visibility is being seen. Um, so what one big remedy is sharing. You see that content, you see that magic, you see these different glamours around the world and your social media stuff, share it. Let other people see it. And you know, it's gonna continue to grow. That's how, you know, social media works. It's just like this big thing about spreading information and visuals and entertainment to people around the world. And the more that it's seen, the more that it's normalized, and the more that it can affect change. Like even what Jasmine was saying last year when this started, excuse me, and she made her tweet, like at the time we did a lot of stuff and we're trying to find like pictures and images and stuff. We're searching Black Fairy, we're searching Black Fae, and there was nothing that came up. And now of course if you search that, you gonna be a minute. Not only that, you know, we've affected change in the algorithms. There are so many people that I ask, I was like, have you seen anybody in your suggested friends who has on elf ears that's a Black person? They're like, yeah. It's like, did you ever see that before? And they're like, no. I was like, I thought it was weird when it started happening. I just figured it was a thing people were doing. Like, no, people are expressing themselves to be these magical beings, and they feel comfortable doing so. So much so that at their public facing space for their social media, they're representing themselves as that. And you know, so it's changing the algorithms. It's changing, you know, just kind of a little bit of insight. People are like, you know, you see when we talk about Black Fae Day that it's more than just dressing up and having a party. It's about something meaningful and deep and essential to people's being. And you know, even the information algorithm on Google was like, hey, this group of words we've never seen before, you used it together, so it must belong to you. So here's the stats on these. And it was like, oh
Yeah.
wow, like we really, you know, just all from Jasmine's magic inside her head has all sprouted and spread these things. So again, do it scared, and you know, represent, share it, and spread it around. Sprinkle that magic.
So now we officially have 2 hashtags, right? We have melanated magic and we have do it scared. Now we have no, I feel like something else is going to be trending, like, oh wow, where'd that come from? Oh yeah, just a live stream.
Dude
all
scared
kinds
is already coined, but it's okay. We're
Do
borrowing.
It scared, Black Fae edition, no. But no, I do like what a lot of you guys are saying, that like, because for myself too, like a little bit on me is that I also was very like anxious, like when I did decide to put on like a horn, on like a unicorn horn on my head and like wings on. And mind you, I orchestrated the fantasy photo shoot, but I was still very much so anxious about putting it together, being out in the open, not sure what my response would get, different things like that. I also had to incorporate a lot more because like I'm Muslim, I'm a hijabi, so I was trying to figure like how do I do this? How do I fit these things into it? Like what are the limits, if there are any limits? Like, you know, there was absorbs different types of things. So I a lot of stuff that you guys are saying about this whole panel, I feel like is very reassuring and reaffirming for me at least. And I think also too for a lot of the people commenting in the section and just watching in general. So we were talking about a lot of heavy stuff. So we're gonna talk about the light stuff. So any favorite characters? So what are some characters that inspire you in your faeness, if you will?
I know it's a little like, what's the word? um, I guess obvious or whatever, but I love Tinkerbell. I have since I was a little kid, but it's because they talk about fairies in that world only being able to like hold one emotion at a time. And I immediately, as a child, was like, oh my gosh, that's me. When I'm sad, I'm really sad, and that's all I can feel. When I'm happy, that's all I can feel. When I'm angry, that's all I can feel. So I am very much of that type of fairy, like Tinkerbell. She's iconic, and I love her so much. I love Tink.
I was gonna say Whitney's fairy godmother, like I can't put into enough words how important Whitney is to me, and specifically her fairy godmother self. Like I aspire for my actualized self to be Whitney fairy godmother, like quite literally. Just in every way. I mean, so powerful, so like powerful magically, but also just powerful, like centered, confident. Um, said it like it was, and like looked fabulous doing it. And then like obviously like as a singer, like Whitney just singing to the clouds, singing magical like things into being, like my dreams. So yeah, I would say like hands down, like she is all things for me.
Quickly, have you seen all the new stuff, like footage and interviews about her in Cinderella recently?
August 23rd.
That's what I was
I
gonna say. I
know.
was like, it's coming
Cosplay.
soon. I didn't know it was out already. They already posted stuff.
I posted it on my Facebook.
Yeah, I'm a huge like Whitney fan, so like
Oh,
I
who
have
isn't?
done like academic reports on the importance of Whitney and her complexities, her and Prince. Like
Oh my
I
gosh,
remember
can I
that
read
report.
these? I want to read your reports.
Listen. We're getting off subject, but listen.
So we have that too. Now we have two Black Fae, celebrities, Whitney and Prince.
For real.
The Prince and the fairy godmother.
Yeah.
Listen.
Brandy princess. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
we got like a
See, and that's where I was about to add in. I was going to say, so mine came from the amalgamation of both Whitney and Brandy, because my favorite color was blue. So, of course, Brandy in this big blue dress. I was like, bet I want to do that one day. I need to come in my big poofy blue dress. But I also need to be singing. It's possible. I need that in my life. Like that brought so much emotion from me when I first heard that. And like sometimes I'll literally put that song on and just cry. And the reason I cry is just all of my emotions, all of the happiness, the sadness, everything. It in that song, it's telling me, they're because of the dope Lord. I know the lyrics usually, but right now it's out of my
Wait,
mind.
I know. What is it? Impossible for a plain yellow pumpkin to become a golden carrot.
Impossible for
This is great.
Pumpkin to become a is that a marriage? Yeah. To have, right? Oh, now it's losing me.
So basically, it says, because these daft and dewy-eyed dopes keep building up impossible hopes impossible, and things are happening every day. So it was like, those daft and dewy-eyed dopes, that would absolutely be me. I love, like, just the joy of having, like, skipping down the street if I can. Absolutely. That's why I love working with the kids. So being able to mesh those two things together, I feel like Kyrie Waterfay is my fairy godmother in a sense, because like I made her a mental health fairy, and like my little motto tagline is so that, like, I love rhyming and I know it helps stick for people in their heads for those type of things. And essentially, I wanted to be like, be able to say that as I go out and see people in the world, because so many people forget that about their worth. So, if you're feeling blue, here's what you can do. Remember your worth. You've had it since birth. So being able to go out there as Kyrie Waterfay and remind people of that, and especially remind myself of that, because I need the reminder sometimes. Like, because, Faye, I want to be Faye all day, but real life happens, and I remember my worth in those times.
Oh, wait, did you go next? Yep.
Oh, I think my favorite, if I think about childhood, because I'm like a omniglot of nerd stuff. Like I do anime, gaming, everything. But when I think about as a kid, especially as a dark skinned girl in the South, I remember being obsessed with Pocahontas, like because she had the wind and the colors of the wind. And it was like she had magic. And then I was like, oh, a black princess. And people was like, no, she's Native American. And then Atlantis came out and Kita came out. And I was like, okay, y'all can't tell me this one isn't black. And they're like, no, she's something else. And I was like, she might be something else, but she's black to me. And just seeing her have the magic, and it was one of the first Disney movies that didn't have music, but it didn't really need it because the story was so amazing. And then just to see the literal like ascent of her fully becoming who she was supposed to be and saving her people is something that always kind of like I can replay that all the time because I remember that disappointment of like, no, Pocahontas isn't black, and it's like, well, dang, I got Snow White, I got Cinderella, and I loved all of the princesses, but it was like this one's black, and it was just that little moment I remember feeling that from having that. So I would definitely say in the Fayish realm, it would be Kita.
I would have to agree with you there, because of course that blue of Kita really drew me in. Like we know, my favorite color is blue. Of course, and the bioluminescence of it all, because that's also something I really really love. So yeah, Atlantis. I remember I had a clear Game Boy, and I had my little Atlantis game playing the game because I loved that little magic aspect they had.
Awesome. Wait, Lishra, did you go? I don't think it was.
As far as favorite characters, I don't really have favorite fantasy character that I can think of. It's just kind of everything else together. So, and again, before Jasmine came up with this, fantasy was just something that it wasn't something that we had representation in. So it was just something that I consumed. I saw it, it was there. And, a lot of the things, like a lot of the characters that you all mentioned, are representative of you as ladies and as women. So that is kind of an identifying factor and relating factor that I didn't necessarily have for those. So that's another part of just kind of not having that representation there. I have favorite characters, but they're typically not in the fantasy genre or anything like that. But that's one of the important things about this representation is at our panels, there's a surprising number of men who are interested in what we're doing and the fact that they can participate. So right now, my favorite fantasy character is Empress Halcyon Crow.
Oh, you're so sweet.
She's gonna cry later, y'all.
I told you I can only hold one emotion at a time. Sometimes the joy overflows. Oh, that was really sweet. He does like Loki, if you want to go outside. Well, I guess that's kind of fantasy.
Oh, that is fantasy. Yeah, Loki's there.
Yeah, there you go then. Yeah.
Loki counts. Loki counts.
Carlos is he's an agent of chaos, so it makes sense.
Listen, I was talking to someone yesterday and they were like, looking at your face, it's hard to tell what's going on. There was like, there's happiness, then there's sadness, then there's something else, and then there's all these other things that swirl around, but they all come back to like some central point. And I was like, Jasmine calls me chaos. So there'll never be just one thing that you see looking at me.
Well, now I see it in full force. And I was like, I wonder why I was thinking that. And now I was like, that all makes sense. It all makes sense. It's coming through fruition. But you reminded me of something. This is of Kita. I know about Kita. I forgot about Kita when we were on the panel yesterday. But that is again too, like, for representation. I got the same thing, like, Pocahontas isn't black, so that Pocahontas doesn't count. But I was like, but Pocahontas has the wind and the animals, she in the trees, she's brown. Give me, I don't understand. I'm like 7. Like, give me like give me something. And then when Kitty Cat was like, ooh, nah. I was the same. I was like, you can't tell me. I hear no words that what was it from, like, Arthur? It's like, that sign can't stop me because I can't read. Like, that was that was like the process of thought that I had as a child. And for me too, I'm a very big fan of water. Make a joke all the time that I can't swim besides doggy paddle, but I still love the water and the ocean and everything like that. And so Kita really resonates with me. But one of the other things is the Winx Club. Loved the Winx Club. Loved, like, Aisha. Loved music. Loved all of it, because I was like, ooh, you're a fairy and you control water and all these things. So like me and you, Hime, like, I think we're gonna bond very, very well with, like, the whole water fairy thing, because that really, really resonated. And this is actually going to be our last question for our panel, which I'm kind of sad about, because I could talk to you guys for hours. So the last question is, how does someone join, participate, or find anything involving Black Fae Day or Black Fae Day related?
Oh, we are so glad you asked. Well, we do have Facebook groups, like I mentioned before. Our private group is called Black Fae Community, and the public group is called Black Fae Every Day. So you can join there. Of course, follow all of our pages at Black Fae Day or Black Fae Day Official on Facebook and Instagram. Everywhere else, it's just Black Fae Day. And right now, if you go on our website, www.blackfaeday.com, it's a landing page for our guild that we're launching in September. So it's an official guild where we're going to be gathering for Ren fairs across the nation, doing community events like volunteer work, things like that. And we're working on making it an official nonprofit, with all the bells and whistles. And so it's a major labor of love, and we want everybody to be part of it. So if you would like to join us and get on the email list, go to www.blackfaeday.com. You'll see the landing page and drop your email there so we can let you know what's going on next. And we're going to be meeting for our first official guild meetup at Ohio Ren Fair Renaissance Festival on September 10th and 11th. So definitely check it out. We want you to join us. And we do have an exclusive discount code if you're, signing up and wanting to know about it. So DM us on any of our official channels for admission discount. But yeah, that's what's going on. And we want you to be part of it. I hope I got everything. Naya, did I get everything?
Yes, and you can also follow Fae of the Shade. That is going to be the guild's Instagram, so definitely follow that as well. And follow on TikTok too, Black Fae Day on TikTok. So follow us and show us some love.
Yes, please. TikTok is hard. TikTok is so hard. Oh my gosh.
I completely agree. The convention has a TikTok. I don't even think anyone here knows that. And when I say anyone here, I mean people watching, people here before, like everything. Like, I forget we have a TikTok. It's okay. It can be really, really, really difficult. I'm excited. I really wanted to go to the festival. I want to go to Ren Fair, but
no, I wanted to come frolic yesterday. Like, I had such bad FOMO. I was just sitting at work and working another convention, which is not as fun. But I was sitting there and I'm like, oh my God, everybody's in the gardens right now frolicking with their wings and their horns, and here I am indoors talking to Hunter Joe and his wife Mary, and it was just not as fun. They're sweet people. I actually got some really cute like earrings. They're like made out of fish lures. But anyway, lots of fun stuff, but not as fun as frolicking with the Fabies. So next year, I'm trying to be out there.
Yes, you're always welcome. Everyone's always welcome. We will try to figure out other ways for us to meet up sooner rather than later. Yes. But first and foremost, I want to say thank you to every single person here on this panel. Thank you for taking out the time. Thank you for coming onto our live for Geek at Staten Island. I really do appreciate it. I had to use a lot of energy to control myself and not just like, you know, because you guys are just very wonderful people that I'm, feel very blessed to have on this panel today. And please, guys, I put all of the links inside of each one of our platforms, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. So please check out their website. A lot of their information is on there. I'm going to be putting more information in the bios for our YouTube as well. So you guys can see where to find them on their social media platforms. And thank you all the people watching, giving comments, showing love, spreading magic, right? All the melanated magic in the space. And I think the biggest takeaway is that. And to do it scared. Do it scared. Because then one day maybe you won't be scared anymore. So thank you guys so much. And I hope everyone has a wonderful evening. Bye.
Thank y'all.
Bye.